Hey, welcome back to our channel. This is Destiny Manifeste, and today we're going to be reading Thought Vibration, or The Law of Attraction in the Thought World by William Walker Atkinson. My working creed, the I believe of the author. I believe the mind of man contains the greatest of all forces, that thought is one of the greatest manifestations of energy. I believe that the man who understands the use of thought force can make himself practically what he will. I believe that not only is one's body subject to the control of the mind, but that also one may change environment, luck, circumstances by positive thought taking the place of negative. I know that the I can and I will attitude will carry one forward to success that will seem miraculous to the man on the I can't plane. I believe that thoughts are things, and that the law of attraction in the thought world will draw to one just what he desires or fears. I believe in the gospel of work, in hustling. I believe in the I do, as well as the I am. I know that the man who will take advantage of the power of the mind, who will manifest that power in action, will go forward to success as surely and as steadily as the arrow from the bow of a skilled archer. I believe in the brotherhood of man. I believe in being kind. I believe in everyone minding his business and allowing everyone else the same privilege. I believe we have no right to condemn. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. I believe that he who hates is an assassin, and that he who covets is a thief, that he who lusts is an adulterer, that the gist of a crime is in its desire. Seeing this, looking into our own hearts, how can we condemn? I believe that evil is but ignorance. I believe that to know all is to forgive all. I believe that there is good in every man. Let us help him to manifest it. I believe in the absolute equality of man and woman. Sometimes I think that the odds are slightly in favor of the woman. I believe in the sacredness of sex, but I also believe that sex manifests on the spiritual and mental planes as well as on the physical, and I believe that to the pure, all things are pure. I believe that man is immortal, and that the real self is spirit, which uses mind and body as its tools and manifests itself according to the fitness of the tools. I believe that man is rapidly growing into a new plane of consciousness, in which he will know himself as he is, will recognize the I am and something within. I believe that there is an infinite power in and of all things. I believe that although today we have but the faintest idea of that power, still we will steadily grow to comprehend it more fully. We'll get in closer touch with it. Even now, we have momentary glimpses of its existence, a momentary consciousness of oneness with the Absolute. I believe that the greatest happiness consists in maintaining toward the Absolute the attitude of the trusting child who, feeling no doubt of the parent's love, no doubt of his wisdom, places his little hand in that of the parent and says, "Lead thou me on." I believe that he who feels towards the Absolute the trustfulness of the babe which places its little tired head close to the breast of the mother will also be conscious of the tender answering pressure as the babe is drawn just a little closer to the mother's heart. William Walker Atkinson. Chapter 1. The Law of Attraction in the Thought World. One great law. Thought a manifestation of energy, thought vibration, thought of light and heat differs solely in rate of vibration. Human brain only instrument capable of registering thought waves. Experiments in telepathy prove the law of thought attraction. Like attracts like in the thought world. The wireless telegraphy of the mind, a field of energy with established laws. The universe is governed by law, one great law. Its manifestations are multiform, but viewed from the ultimate, there is but one law. We are familiar with some of its manifestations, but are almost totally ignorant of certain others. Still, we are learning a little more every day. The veil is being gradually lifted. We speak learnedly of the law of gravitation, but ignore that equally wonderful manifestation, the law of attraction in the thought world. We are familiar with that wonderful manifestation of law which draws and holds together the atoms of which matter is composed. We recognize the power of the law that attracts bodies to the earth, that holds the circling worlds in their places, but we close our eyes to the mighty law that draws to us the things we fear or desire, that makes or mars our lives. When we come to see that thought is a force, a manifestation of energy, having a magnet-like power of attraction, we will begin to understand the why and wherefore of many things that have heretofore seemed dark to us. There's no study that will so well repay the student for his time and trouble as a study of this mighty law of the world of thought, the law of attraction. When we think we send out vibrations of a fine ethereal substance, which are as real as the vibrations manifesting light, heat, electricity, magnetism, that these vibrations are not evident to our five senses is no proof that they do not exist. A powerful magnet will send out vibrations and exert a force sufficient to attract to itself a piece of steel weighing 100 pounds, but we can neither see, taste, smell, hear, nor feel the mighty force. These thought vibrations likewise cannot be seen, tasted, smelled, heard, or felt in the ordinary way, although it is true that there are record cases of persons peculiarly sensitive to psychic impressions who have perceived powerful thought waves, and many of us can testify that we have distinctly felt the thought vibrations of others, both whilst in the presence of the sender and at a distance. Telepathy and its kindred phenomena are not idle dreams. Light and heat are manifested by vibrations of a far lower intensity than those of thought, but the difference is solely in the rate of vibration. The Annals of Science throw an interesting light upon this question. Professor Elisha Gray, an eminent scientist, says in his little book, The Miracles of Nature, there is much food for speculation in the thought that there exist sound waves that no human ear can hear, and color waves of light that no eye can see. The long, dark, soundless space between 40,000 and 400 trillion vibrations per second, and the infinity of range beyond 700 trillion vibrations per second, where light ceases in the universe of motion, makes it possible to indulge in speculation. M. Williams, in his work entitled Short Chapters in Science, says, there is no gradation between the most rapid undulations or tremblings that produce our sensation of sound, and the slowest of those which give rise to our sensations of gentlest warmth. There is no gap between them, wide enough to include another world of motion, all lying between our world of sound and our world of heat and light, and there is no good reason whatsoever for supposing that matter is incapable of such an intermediate activity, or that such activity may not give rise to intermediate sensations, provided there are organs for taking up and sensifying their movements. I cite the above authorities merely to give you food for thought, not to attempt to demonstrate to you the fact that thought vibrations exist. The last named fact has been fully established to the satisfaction of numerous investigators of the subject, and a little reflection will show you that it coincides with your own experiences. We often hear repeated the well-known mental science statement, thoughts are things, and we say these words over without consciously realizing just what is the meaning of the statement. If we fully comprehend the truth of the statement and the natural consequences of the truth back of it, we should understand many things which have appeared dark to us, and would be able to use the wonderful power, thought force, just as we use any other manifestation of energy. As I have said, when we think we set into motion vibrations of a very high degree, but just as real as the vibrations of light, heat, sound, electricity. And when we understand the laws governing the production and transmission of these vibrations, we will be able to use them in our daily life just as we do the better known forms of energy. That we cannot see, hear, weigh, or measure these vibrations is no proof that they do not exist. There exist waves of sound which no human ear can hear, although some of these are undoubtedly registered by the ear of some insects, and others are caught by delicate scientific instruments invented by man, yet there is a great gap between the sounds registered by the most delicate instrument and the limit which man's mind, reasoning by analogy, knows to be the boundary line between sound waves and some other forms of vibration. And there are light waves which the eye of man does not register, some of which may be detected by more delicate instruments, and many more so fine that the instrument has not yet been invented which will detect them. Although improvements are being made every year, and the unexplored field gradually lessens. As new instruments are invented, new vibrations are registered by them. And yet the vibrations were just as real before the invention of the instrument as afterward. Supposing that we had no instruments to register magnetism, one might be justified in denying the existence of that mighty force, because it could not be tasted, felt, smelt, heard, seen, weighed, or measured. And yet the mighty magnet would still send out waves of force sufficient to draw to it pieces of steel weighing hundreds of pounds. Each form of vibration requires its own form of instrument for registration. At present, the human brain seems to be the only instrument capable of registering thought waves, although occultists say that in this century scientists will invent an apparatus sufficiently delicate to catch and register such impressions. And from present indications, it looks as if the invention named might be expected at any time. The demand exists, and undoubtedly will soon be supplied. But to those who have experimented along the lines of practical telepathy, no further proof is required than the results of their own experiments. We are sending out thoughts of greater or less intensity all the time, and we are reaping the results of such thoughts. Not only do our thought waves influence ourselves and others, but they have a drawing power. They attract to us the thoughts of others, things, circumstances, people, luck, in accord with the character of the thought uppermost in our minds. Thoughts of love will attract to us the love of others. Circumstances and surroundings in accord with the thought. People who are of the like thought. Thoughts of anger, hate, envy, malice, and jealousy will draw to us the foul brood of kindred thoughts emanating from the minds of others. Circumstances in which we will be called upon to manifest these vile thoughts and will receive them in turn from others, people who will manifest in harmony, and so on. A strong thought, or a thought long continued, will make us the center of attraction for the corresponding thought waves of others. Like attracts like in the thought world. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. Birds of a feather flock together in the thought world. Curses like chickens come home to roost and bring their friends with them. The man or woman who is filled with love sees love on all sides and attracts the love of others. The man with hate in his heart gets all the hate he can stand. The man who thinks fight generally runs up against all the fight he wants before he gets through. And so it goes. Each gets what he calls for over the wireless telegraphy of the mind. The man who rises in the morning feeling grumpy usually manages to have the whole family in the same mood before the breakfast is over. The nagging woman generally finds enough to gratify her nagging propensity during the day. This matter of thought attraction is a serious one. When you stop to think of it, you will see that a man really makes his own surroundings, although he blames others for it. I have known people who understand this law to hold a positive, calm thought and be absolutely unaffected by the inharmony surrounding them. They were like the vessel from which the oil had been poured on the troubled waters, and they rested safely and calmly, whilst the tempest raged around them. One is not at the mercy of the fitful storms of thought, after he has learned the workings of the law. We have passed through the age of physical force and onto the age of intellectual supremacy, and are now entering a new and almost unknown field, that of psychic power. This field of energy has its established laws, as well as have the others, and we should acquaint ourselves with them, or we will be crowded to the wall as are the ignorant on the plains of effort. I will endeavor to make plain to you the great underlying principles of this new field of energy which is opening up before us, that you may be able to make use of this great power and apply it for legitimate and worthy purposes, just as men are using steam, electricity, and other forms of energy today. End of chapter 1.